Imagine you're a young pilot, sent on a mission with no return, but then you fail. What happens to the kamikaze pilots who didn't die? Most people know about Japan's kamikaze pilots who crashed into enemy ships, causing destruction with their explosive-laden planes. Their mission was clear. But what if they didn't succeed? What awaited those who came back? It's 1944. Japan is at war with a powerful enemy and its resources are running dry. Traditional attacks are no longer sustainable, so the military turns to extreme measures, creating elite suicide pilots. Their target? Key American ships, especially aircraft carriers. But unlike the myth, kamikazes weren't just random pilots thrown into certain death. They were carefully selected, brutally trained, and praised as heroes. Their training included more than just flying. It involved meditating on death itself to accept their fate. Still, the reality was far more complicated. Not all succeeded. Some were shot down before reaching their target. Others missed and crashed into the sea. And some, for various reasons, made the decision to return. There's a myth that kamikazes were only given half a tank of fuel so they couldn't come back, but that's not true. In some cases, pilots returned due to technical problems or bad weather and they weren't punished. On the contrary, they were often sent out again as soon as the plane was fixed. But what about those who came back for less obvious reasons? If one pilot survived while the rest of his squad died, suspicions arose. In those cases, commanders would scold, theme, or send them back out with even more pressure. To reduce the chance of hesitation, kamikazes were often sent in groups after, being given sake to dull their fear. But even that didn't stop all returns. There were extreme cases, like one pilot who returned from 9 missions before he was executed for cowardice. Still, most returnees weren't punished, because Japan knew its pilots were too valuable to waste. Every lost kamikaze meant one less chance to seriously harm the enemy. In the end, while kamikazes were meant to be terrifying weapons, their actual effectiveness and impact on enemy morale are still debated. What's certain is that many of these young men faced far more complex fates than the stories suggest. Kamikazes became the symbol of Japan's desperate strategy during World War II, but behind the propaganda and myth lies a much more complicated truth: heroes or victims. That's for history to decide. If you enjoyed this kind of deep dive, make sure to follow for more untold stories from history that you won't hear in school books.